Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
How many podcasts are these guys doing?
Lots. And good afternoon, morning. What is it? Welcome to Spotlight Keene. And another week goes by. A lot of issues happening in the city, but this week we have a guest in-house too. My name's Chris Coates.
Randy Filio still.
And so we're going to be talking swamp bat thing today. But before we do, is there anything that we need to? Is there anything that happened in the city this week that you want to just make sure? Anything coming up? I mean, there's a meeting tonight, right?
Yeah, we're going to be meeting with you, Chris. Actually, of course, by the time people see this, it'll have been last night. So yeah, there's a meeting between an informal meeting between the city council, school board, state reps, county officials, and anybody else from the surrounding towns that is an elected official that has any interest of the going ons. And we're going to have a presentation about upcoming bills that are up in Concord that'll affect all of us. So yes, an open invite to any and all that are interested. All the local officials from the county have been invited. School board has been invited. County has been invited. We know Chris is going to be here because we added an extra half hour to have food. We knew Chris would show up.
Yeah, he's been whining this whole time. Because they scheduled the gala last week at a time that the city council was having a board meeting, so he missed out on all the food. But I will tell you that the mayor and Councilor Remy was there, and they were enjoying the foods and also the conversation. So,
well, some of us had earlier pre-meetings to go to. And
that's what you're going.
Oh, yeah. Well, some of us that actually have things to do when it comes to city council, but we let the mayor hide for a little while. But no, we had things going on. But it's one of those issues that there's only 2 nights a month that we ask those events not to be scheduled on the first and third Thursdays of the month. Those are the only 2 nights of the month. Please don't schedule those things because the mayor, the city council, and city staff can't go. So one of those 2 nights is the night they schedule it on. But hey, it happens. Like I said, there's more food for you. So I heard it was really good. And I'll make up for yours tonight here. So whenever you go to grab that little piece of cheesecake, it's mine.
All right. So in the house today, we're going to jump right into it because this is,
fun stuff.
When I look at one of the magic of Keene, Cheshire County, the Monadnock region, and for something to do for every level of family or individual out there, it is the Keene Swamp Bats. It's all about the Swamp Bats. In the summer, if you're a young family and you just need that break and it's a nice night out, you take that child or children out there and they can be close by watching the game with you. It's quality ball, and it's just and they've got burgers and dogs and
food,
and all that. But it's just a fun time overall. And what I will tell you, and Kevin's heard this 100 times, is I started that with my daughter, and then they got friends, so they would play behind the stands. Then at one point she would come back and at a certain age and just sort of watch the game with me. Then she got to middle school, and they were on the other side of the fence watching and playing with friends. And they got into high school, and actually she came back at times with friends that wanted, because she now had other individuals watching baseball or playing baseball, and she'd come back with them, or they, but it was just a family-oriented thing throughout all the sponsorships and all those things that go into it. So there's fun nights almost every night. And again, it comes down to quality ball. Guys that end up playing in the big leagues. You're watching them prior to that. And it's a lot of fun. So we welcome Kevin Watterson of the Keene Swamp Bats. What's your official title? Is it CEO? Is it executive director? Is it a grand poobah?
Chris, if you're into titles, it's president.
President.
But,
I was getting there.
I remind folks that at the end of each game, I'm under the grandstands cleaning up trash with our interns. So the title really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's the old title of chief cook and bottle washer, literally.
Right.
Correct.
So for people, because we've got time, to talk a little bit about the history. Why was this a vision for your dad? Is it a vision you had? Is it a vision? I mean, how did you get to bringing the Swamp Bats to where they are today? And what year are we in?
We are about to enter our 27th season, believe it or not. And I will assure you, when we started the Swamp Bats back in 1998, that we didn't have 27 years in mind. We had a vision that said we have a great baseball town, we've run regionals, we've sent teams to World Series, and we can take this to another level. And so we went to Major League Baseball scouts, and we said, this is our dream. And we said, where can we take this? And they said, well, you're too far from the Cape, and they're the #1 league in the country. They said, but there's a new entity in Connecticut called the New England Collegiate Baseball League. They opened under Fay Vincent and George Foster's tutelage, and they've been in business about 3 or 4 years. You need to get in that league. So that is what we pursued. Was it my dream? I'd say it was our dream. And we had a tremendous board of directors who, at that time, some are no longer with us, Junie Blaisdell, Kip Weeks, Charlie Burns, my dad, John Watterson, Bob March. It was Anita Piermonti. So we had a great board of the who's who could actually pull this off, because we didn't have a dime, and we needed if you're going to go first class and you're going to bring players in from Southern Cal and the University of Alabama, you need to go first class. So
so you organized the group. You decide to move forward with this, and you had to work out a relationship with the school board, the city of Keene, not the city, but the Keene school board, and the trust, because the school board doesn't own; they oversee the fields. The trust runs the field, right?
That is true. The trust, I think, back in '37, they worked the deal out with the SAU 29. They gave them the land and said, you can be the landlord, so to speak, and we will back off. We have faith in you that you'll do the right things by the city, by the school system, and so they've run it. We haven't had reason to go to the trust since we've been in business. They really allow the school. They have a confidence in what they're going to do, and they do it right.
Yeah.
Well, they did it right, Chris. Not only did they do that, yours truly has been appointed chairman of grounds and facilities. So that's right. Alumni Field's mine. So I just want to remind you that. So you want to do something out there, you just let me know, okay? Yeah, that's
okay.
right.
Yeah, and hopefully then, if you are the chair, then you'll take a look at what we're charging everybody to rent on our fields, and make sure that they can do it across the board in a way that makes sense, because it's a community. These fields are community fields, and I was chair of the facilities. I always push back when they say we're going to bump it up, because nights football, the kids that are using our basketball courts in the winter inside and stuff like that. It's all, I get that there's got to be some level of fee, but let's balance it out with what makes sense.
That's true.
That's just
the other thing, and I've been talking to Kevin about this too, one of the things I want improved out there, and of course everything costs money, is the bathrooms. They're the same bathrooms from the 50s, and some of them, let's just say they need an upgrade, especially the women's room. If you're going to get a good female clientele to go to these, women's rooms are more important than the men's rooms. Let's face it, guys aren't quite so picky. That's one area that I think we need to improve on. It's we've improved a little bit over towards the football field. Now we need to improve over towards the baseball field. Bathrooms are important, and if we ever want, we've talked about this before, Chris. If we want not just the Swamp Bats, but if we want tournaments and events to be here, you have to have adequate bathrooms. So.
I would agree with that. And if you think about it, it's been a long time since Keene has hosted any state tournaments. And in the old days, we hosted state championship games in Class L level.
Yep.
And I do think restrooms are part of the problem. I would say also, I would remind folks that the Swamp Bats, we've probably put into the facility $500,000 over our 25 years. Because if we have extra money at the end of the year, that's what we do with it. We invest back into Alumni Field to make that the facility that it's just part of what it's become.
I'm glad you bring that up, Kevin, because that's one part that's not even told. You save taxpayers basically $500,000 in taxes.
Right.
Because it would have to go into the ground. So people, contribute a couple of bucks for a ticket. It actually goes back into the community. So
but you also hit the, I think if I go back in my history in my head here, 1976 is the last time I can remember us hosting a championship game out there, and I think it was your brother that was playing on that team.
Yeah.
Was it Toby?
It was my brother Toby.
Yeah.
Against Steve Balboni, Manchester Memorial.
Yeah.
Great game.
Yeah.
To the wire.
Mm-hmm.
It was epic game. And
I was at the game. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those who don't remember, his nickname was Bye Bye Balboni.
Bye Bye Balboni.
Because he had hit a home run that would clear the pine trees in center field.
Yeah.
I think he hit one that day, as Toby often reminds me.
Yeah.
And hey, the facility has a chance. The facility is special. It's a throwback. But there are things that I think the bathrooms is probably the biggest.
But there's examples out there of throwback stadiums that have upgraded their internals. Mm-hmm. I've always said you don't stop at just the bathrooms, but there shouldn't be a woman going to the bathroom shouldn't have to miss a half an inning or more to get into the bathroom to utilize it. They should have a better opportunity to utilize the bathrooms. Like Randy said, with us, we're in, we're out. But also, wouldn't it be great, and I know we talked about this before, but to have some level of locker rooms for the guys.
Oof, yeah.
It would take us to a higher level. It would be, I mean, you're selling right now the product that of over years of having, of what you present, and also the product of turnout. We've been very fortunate in the city to have, some of the best crowds in any of the league.
Right. Yeah, I will say this. I've been thinking about this locker room thing that you just brought up because 2 or 3 of our peers in the league have added them this year for the players, and I look at it and I say, where can we invest in locker rooms out there for not only the Swamp Bats during the season when we're there, but the high school teams during the spring. Maybe there's football teams. Maybe there's whatever. So one of the things that comes to my mind is there a way to put locker rooms under the football?
Oh,
stadium?
football.
Could we put locker rooms under there that can be used? Throughout the year, not just the Swamp Bats. Would we invest in it? Sure. Are there grants out there that could help us afford it? I think there has to be. That's my vision because I can't see those locker rooms going under the covered grandstand, at the field itself.
That's
well, and if
that'd take a lot of renovation.
But you know what? The water systems are all set up out there already because there used to be locker rooms underneath those stands.
The football stands.
The football stands. There used to be because I used to put my stuff there.
Right. And right now they're being used for storage.
Yeah.
And God love Ken Dooley, does a great job. But I think that area can be used more for those entities that are paying rent, by the way. And we pay rent. We're happy to pay the rent. I don't think we're the same thing as the Pop Warner football or whatever they call it, the Knights. And I agree with you. We ought not, in a $75 to $80 million budget, do we need to be nickel and diming people. Mm-hmm. And I don't include the Swamp Bats in there. We're happy to pay the going rate. Because we put a couple thousand people a night in.
Yeah.
But the more we can get it, does it really matter the 100,000 or 200,000 they might collect over the course of a year? Does that really matter to the SAU? I don't quite get it.
Well, and I also think that if you upgrade your facilities, your programs thrive across the board. Look at what Keene Ice has done to the hockey program in the region.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, Kevin, my next meeting of the facilities is next Tuesday. I guess that's something I'll bring up to Ken.
Yeah.
And obviously it wouldn't be anything that happened this year, but you need to look down the road. But I mean, that kind of goes along with the whole improvement of bathrooms, locker rooms. Definitely something to bring forward. And some of the rent that maybe it could be funded, by holding back some of the rent Swamp Bat plays, that it could be invested back into the field. Yeah. As you mentioned, with Keene Ice, that's a perfect example. You build it and they will come, right. And you invest in your community, and it has a return.
I think you need to, and Chris, you touched on it. That's a community facility out there.
Yes.
The SAU is strictly the landlord,
right.
And the trustees are over the SAU, and we need to make sure that it's available to the public. And I do worry about that at times.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case. And if the rent is such that it's preventing it from being used, that's a problem also.
Yeah. And it's why I've always said if somehow we could have afforded a turf field, which we've come close multiple times to dream about it. It would one of the biggest issues is
that was basically the football field, wasn't it?
But the football field, if you put a turf field in at the football field, that turns into a lacrosse field, it turns into a soccer field, it turns into a football field hockey. Yeah. All of a sudden,
it pays for itself with no maintenance.
And there's always going to be some level. And
the grass doesn't die.
Right. It allows you to do something. So.
Right.
Oh, but we are here for the Swamp Bats, so but it's important, I think, for people to hear the full aspect of what the Swamp Bats bring. And I will tell you, from lighting to the grounds, to the stadium itself, to adding a box for the people that are calling the games and whatever it is, you've really made a difference at Alumni Field, upgrading the food court area.
Right.
Well, Kevin, as Chris segue into something, you talked about the broadcasting area up there. ESPN covered Swamp Bats games last year.
We did a pilot program, and we didn't really make it public because we were concerned about our ability to execute it. Right. So we did a pilot program ourselves and 2 other teams, 10 games in the entire league as a pilot with ESPN Plus, and we did 4 games with ESPN Plus, and that's we came out of it smelling great, and to the point that they're going to do 100 games this year in the NECBO. Our entire schedule, all 22 games, will be on ESPN Plus.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
So what is it? Huge. Just so people know, though, let's take it a step further. Yeah. What is the ESPN Plus?
It's a great question. It's not ESPN 1 or 2. It's a streaming service. So all our games will be on streaming. But to tell you the truth, the way of the world, what's coming, it's all about streaming.
Oh, absolutely.
And for us to be a leader in summer collegiate baseball with ESPN is huge.
So I'm going to take it again a step further. Yeah. So if I wanted to watch a streaming game, because this is the audience you're talking to, you go to YouTube and put it in. I mean, or do you have to purchase an ESPN streaming thing? What's
so ESPN Plus costs $10 a month.
Okay.
$10 a month.
Yeah.
Break that down per week, $250. It has currently 25 million home subscribers. That's the reach of ESPN.
And you can watch it remotely from your phones and your laptops also.
Yeah.
Right. And so for us, the way we look at it is that consumer who's out there, whose kid is pitching tonight, for $10 a month year round, they can tune in and watch us. Now, and the beauty is we supply everything. We supply the production. We supply the cameras. We supply the broadcasters.
Yeah.
The whole works. That's what ESPN Plus loves about us. They don't have to invest in it. We give them the product, and if it's a quality product, they're all in.
We'll take it a step further too. Is that you've got a relationship with the coaches that are sending these kids up here.
Right. Yeah.
Now they can tune in and see how their kid's performing.
Exactly.
And if they see something they don't like or whatever it may be, you're going to hear about it. If they see, they can also give feedback that they like what's happening.
It's very true. Between that, the analytics that we provide what they call synergy, and it's great. It's what MLB requires of us. We have to do synergy and TrackMan. And now you add in ESPN Plus, that college coach at Mississippi State, at Kent State, at Southern Cal, where we have players coming from, to your point, Chris, they're tuning in, yes.
And so how many teams are in the league this year?
13, same the last 2 years.
Okay.
We've been solid right at 13.
So 7 and 6?
We have 3. We went to 3 divisions.
3 divisions.
Yeah. 5, 4, and 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
And basically, for most games, and I've got a copy of the schedule here that you provided with us. So you played your own division multiple times, right? And then the other divisions, what, once or twice this season?
One home, one away.
Okay.
And it's for travel reasons,
right?
As much as anything.
Expenses.
Yeah, for some teams.
Yeah.
You know, we tend to go
Martha's
first class
Vineyard.
in every way. Yeah, they don't have a problem with expenses. But you know, how many times do you want to go to Danbury?
Right.
You know, for instance. So we do play teams in our own division 7 or 8 times. It's a little much. It's not. I mean, I'm not in favor of it. I'd rather do the travel, go first class, get on that coach bus. You don't send anybody in vans or anything like that.
So they're relaxed. They're not. It's not like they're watching the movies anyways down there, and so.
Hey, if they make it to the minor leagues, they're going to be on buses quite a bit anyhow, right?
Exactly. We tell them that all the time. This is the minor leagues.
Yeah.
This is what your dream is. This is what you're going to live.
All right.
Yep.
So all right. So that in your division, who are the teams that you guys are playing?
We play Montpelier, Upper Valley, which is Hartford, Vermont.
Yeah.
Ourselves, Sanford. We're in a
So see, that's a tough little division. If I look back over the years, Montpelier was not something. It was used to be. Tell me if I'm wrong with this. From Montpelier used to be a win. And then all of a sudden they started getting themselves together and be very competitive in the division.
Won back-to-back titles.
Right. Sanford has always been a player, and it's been one of your biggest thorns in the side early on, before Montpelier was even here, I think.
Right. Great talent on the field.
Yeah, and then what was the other one?
Hartford.
Hartford. Some reason.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this about Hartford. They always put outstanding baseball talent on the field.
Yeah.
You know, is it my first choice where I want to go spend a night? Probably not.
Yeah.
But they're tough to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
with Keene being around 25 years now, and a good history, do you find, especially with players that have come here, is their rapport when they go back to their school? Because obviously you get a lot of word of mouth.
Yeah.
So do you get a lot of players that come here basically because they get a good rapport from former players from colleges?
It's definitely impactful. What will happen is they'll go back and their coaches will ask them, hey, tell me about your Keene experience. Coach, one of the best baseball experiences of my life, over and over. And therefore, the coach, who is the person sending me great players, he now knows about us through his players that have been here.
Well, that's great. I remember reading, I think it was last year, a player, now you read it every year, but a player came up, I think it was from Georgia. It had never been north, ever. And just said it was the best time of his life. And like I said, north to him was like, northern Georgia or something.
Right.
And I think he drove up here, if I remember right, too. And
we hear that over and over. One of the best experiences of my life. Never had a year like this. I've got a great story. Andre Ethier, one of our showcase players.
Dodgers?
Dodgers.
Yep.
$75 million contract. MLB called me last year and said, they got the All-Star game in Dodger Stadium. And they said, Kevin, can you get us Andre's cell phone? Because we want him to coach. He's retired now. The All-Star team, the high school All-Star team. And he's in L.A. And I'm thinking, MLB needs me to give them his cell. But okay, so I call Andre, and first of all, it was like old times. It was like we never left.
Yeah.
And he said, Kevin, one of the greatest experiences of my life was that summer I had in Keene. He said, in fact, I got 3 boys now. He said, I'm planning on bringing them up next year. It's the 20th anniversary of my being up there. I'm going to take them to Yankee Stadium where he played. I'm going to bring them up to a Swamp Bat game. And he said, I want to show him my roots when I grew up. And how about that story?
The year,
awesome.
Andre
That's a
Ethier,
great story.
the year that he played with the Swamp Bats was the year that we housed the Swamp Bat.
Really?
And Andre Ethier would come over and play video games with the other players at our house.
Is that right?
Yeah, when he got that big contract, I tried to remind him of how much milk he drank when he was at our house, but he didn't get back to me on that one. But yep, he spent a lot of time, and he was a youngster.
Class act.
A young college kid, playing video games at the house, and then next thing you know.
Yeah, he came out of a JC, junior college in Arizona, and then the next 2 years went to Arizona State and played with who was the great second baseman for the Red Sox? I can't believe I'm
Dustin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pedroia. He and Pedroia played 2 years together. Pedroia was the shortstop, and Andre was the right fielder on the Arizona State team.
Wow.
Yeah. Little talent.
Yeah.
Probably have a lot of stories like that, because I know a lot of the Swamp Bats have made it. Well, into Major League Baseball, and some make it all the way, as I say, they make it to the show.
We got 40 players who made the show, and hundreds in the minor leagues.
They made it to the minors.
Yeah.
So, when you put together a team, you need to start. You start with your pitching. You start with all. How do you go about forming it, and then dive right into what you got this year, and then I'm going to talk about over the last few years where you guys have struggled a little bit, and also College World Series and what it means to you guys.
Well, I always, first of all, I'm fortunate to have, I got that from my dad, building a baseball team. So I always start out the middle. It's about pitchers, catchers, and shortstops.
Yeah.
You got to be strong up the middle, and you got to be strong on the mound if you're going to win. And those are the keys for me as I put together a team. And then beyond that, it is makeup. We want great kids. Not just great players. And so if I hear when I'm talking to a coach, suppose, here's an example, if a coach says to me, Kevin, you got to stay with this kid, meaning, you got to really stay on top of him, or, it might not turn out well. That kid, I don't care how good he is, we're not going to bring him to Keene. We're going to bring great citizens while we bring great players. And I think over the years, we might have sent 2 players home in our 26 years. So I think we deliver. And if you're putting players into host families in their homes, the commitment is to have that type of character in your home.
When do you start looking for those homes? Getting ready to start.
You're gonna hear it next week. We kind of wait till the 1st of April, and we will start reaching out to our last year's host families and folks who want to give it a shot. And it's really, they're pretty easy. It's not like having a 13-year-old that you got to babysit. They all come with cars. They're playing 6 nights a week. They're here for a reason. They want to play MLB. They get a free membership to the gym. So they're here. They're serious about their craft. Yeah. And so some folks take them so that if they have kids, social experience. Some realize the value it brings to Keene. There's a myriad of reasons that folks will host. And we always remind folks, you don't have to do this for life. Try it for 1 year.
Yeah.
Just year at a time.
Right, and it means you don't have to not go on vacation.
Right.
It means that they can go some other place for that period of time.
We have a good backup team who cover. Terry Connis is our number one. So Terry, we just call him up. Terry, we've got this family going on vacation. He said, "Yep, send them." Yeah. And we have a number of hosts like that. So vacations don't have to prevent you from giving this a shot.
It's almost like having a teenager in the house. If you have a teenager, you know what I mean? They just come and go.
Yeah. Exactly.
And Holly and I have hosted 4 over the years, and we had Artie Lewicki, who made it to the majors.
Wow.
He had to have Tommy John surgery after the Swamp Bat season.
One of my all-time favorites, Artie.
Yeah, he was a flamethrower.
His mom, single mom.
Yep.
Jersey kid.
Yep.
She used to drive up here in a pickup truck that had no business making it. Nope. None. And but he was special.
Yep, he was. I remember when he was going back. I bought him a tire because I looked at the tire of the truck that he was driving. Like, Artie, you're not going to make it to New Jersey on that.
Right.
And so I bought him a tire, and my friends at City Tire helped out. Kudos to them. Yep. I sent him down there, and then he made it. He made it to the majors, and he managed to pitch a game at Fenway Park also.
Did he really?
Yep. He came in there and pitched the game at Fenway, and then
it's so interesting that you have these stories because you have, and the host families have far more memories than I do of our players who make it because they stay in touch. If I really want to know what a former MLB player is doing today, I have to find out who he stayed with. Yeah. Then call the family, and they have the information because I don't.
Yeah.
So what does it look like this year?
Hey, I like our team. Last year we did not hit the ball well, so we made sure as we were recruiting the team we put strong offense on the field. So we've got Mississippi State kids, Wake Forest number 1 in the country. We've got their starting second baseman, their number 1 pitcher, freshman pitcher. We've got the usual cast. We've got great arms coming from Kent State. Kent State sent us 5 players who have gone to the big leagues. Tremendous program.
Really?
Yeah. First time in many years we've got a second baseman from Princeton. Yeah, who's tearing it up in the Ivy Leagues. We've got Jimmy Chester, who was an assistant coach to Marty Testo here years ago, is now the head coach at Gardner Webb. He's sending us his shortstop, his number one pitcher. I mean, so a lot of it becomes relationships, wrapped in talent.
I mean, you got a boatload of pitchers too.
You got to have it. I think we got 22.
Yeah, and so when you put something together, do you have like a secondary list of players that, if need be, you can dive into? Because some of these, one, they may be drafted. Two, because a lot of these guys are sophomores and juniors. There is a good amount of seniors, more than I've seen in the past, or at least I remember in the past. But they may be drafted. The World Series may take them out. Injury may take them out. I mean, do you have to have that backup?
You really do. And the other thing that's happened, we got in this business 25, 26 years ago, the roster was 25 players. Oh, and then we increased it to 30 because we couldn't help ourselves. Now, because of the nature of collegiate sports, we're at 40. We have a 40-man roster. It's like a football team. So, which is why we have 22 pitchers. Yeah. Because in the old days, a pitcher he'd go on 2 days rest if you had a big game. Today, that just doesn't happen.
Well, are the coaches giving you a count that they can go?
They can get a number of. You know what they tend to do is give us the number of innings. Okay. Which we love that as opposed to pitch count.
Yeah.
But
because the coaches don't want the players coming back with tired arms.
Exactly.
Right.
And today, college baseball has changed. I mean, these college coaches today, the head coaches, SEC, they're making $1 million a year.
Right.
When we got into this thing, they had to get a painting job in the summer to afford their lives. Today, and pitchers control their lives. It's arms, so it's hard.
Have you seen any change with, what's it, NIL?
NIL, absolutely. NIL is what everybody's seeing today. It's name, image, and likeness. And players are getting paid big money, huge money. We're 3 years into NIL. It's changed the landscape. If you've seen anything, there's two things. There's a portal, which is you can now, the NCAA passed this rule, you can transfer and play the next day, basically. And there's NIL. It's big money. I mean, you've seen the, what's her name, Dunn, from the gymnast from LSU.
Yeah.
I think she was the number one NIL earner this year with $3.5 million she made. And NIL money.
Yeah.
So so for us, we are starting to hear that the summer players may start to look for some NIL perks. It hasn't happened to us yet. Is it happening on the Cape? Possibly. Do I see it down the line? Possibly.
Yeah. Well, if it's happening at the Cape, then there's maybe examples that you can work off of.
Right.
Not how to do it and how not to do it.
I'd say the biggest negative impact on us, it's hard to believe, are agents and advisors. So they're driving a lot of decisions by players and their dads and moms, so to speak.
And the hanger-oners.
Exactly. I mean, I'll say to it, because the Cape, believe it or not, went to a 55-man roster. So I recently said to this player, I said, do you really want to go to the Cape on a 55-man roster? When are you going to get in the lineup?
Right.
And his answer to me was, Mr. Watterson, my agent says I need to check the box. So, okay. So he needs to check the box on the resume, so to speak, that he played in the Cape. Maybe he got 10 at-bats, but the box is checked. And so this is what the agents, and if you think it's hard, it affects my life, you can only imagine what it's doing to the head coaches at these major schools.
Yeah.
I mean, they won't say it out loud, but they and I can talk. It drives them crazy.
The bottom line, if you're not getting playing time, I mean, no matter if you check the box or not, if you're not getting playing time, when push comes to shove and they look at your collegiate career, and, it's like, 5 at-bats, and nothing happened. You think that's crazy, but as you said, the era is changing.
It's a changing world.
But the other side of it is for these players that a lot of times the coaches are saying, you've got hitting coaches up here. You've got this. Can they, while they're up there, work on this or that? Can they work on? Yeah. He's having a hard time hitting the curve or whatever it may be, and it's just. I haven't read it yet, but I saw there's an article out there saying NIL will be the killer for college sports, and sooner than you think.
Yeah, it's a sad thought. Is it going to change it drastically? It already is.
It has, yeah.
And what's the future hold? And what's the portal?
Yeah.
I mean, the portal now is the other thing that coaches, and sometimes it works for us, they don't want to send a kid to the Cape because the kid is best friends with his roommate down there, and he calls up his college coach and said, "Hey, I got a kid here throwing 95 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You want to think about it, coach?" And as opposed, you come to Keene, and we tend to sit on that, and we don't. No, although we had 4 or 5 kids last year go portal and leave us because once a player enters the portal, he's gone.
Yeah.
Either he comes here and he's got to go because he's got to find a school, or he comes here and now he puts himself in the portal and he needs to go home and find a school.
Right.
I mean, so
yeah. I mean,
that's why you need 40 players.
Right, and then you need a backup plan after that. I mean, you see that Deion Sanders saying that 2 of his players, his son being one of them, will not play in these places, which I understand it's happened in the past with Elway and with Eli Manning. But, if I was an owner, I'd get all the owners together and say, that's fine, then we're not going to select you until the 4th round.
Right.
And that's, you're going to fill in the pocketbook.
Right.
And I know that's probably collusion or something, but screw you, man. I mean, it is. So I'm looking at the lineup of the pitchers. I'm interested in one from Stony Brook University because he's 6'5", 230 pounds. Can he is he a dominating presence on the mound? Yeah. I'm just thinking.
James Robb, RAAB, a New York kid. Now, by the way, when you see senior, NCAA makes us put down senior. They're actually 1 year less. So
Okay.
when you see the senior, they're juniors.
They'll be going into their senior year.
Yeah.
So Rob, he's a 94, 95 mile an hour fastball starter. We'll see a lot of James here this year.
Okay.
If he doesn't get drafted.
Yeah.
Because he is draft eligible. But there's a good example.
That's always a risk.
Is there some other players that stand out to you that you just think, oh my God, I can't wait to get him up here? I guess he's just going to throw some nastiness.
Well, if you want to see a kid...
or some cheese or whatever.
Look at Josh Gunther, the kid from Wake Forest. He was player of the year last year in Alabama. Great pitcher. Already lighting it up. And here's the kid that I think that you'll find on the second page. He's an infielder. His name's Alex Alicea. Alex is only 5'7", 155. We don't take people that size.
Yeah.
But last year he was player of the year coming out of the state of Wisconsin.
Okay.
Player of the year.
Yeah.
Stole 57 bases for 57 attempts.
Wow.
So, I told Louisville, he comes out of Louisville, I said, no, I don't want him. He's too small. He just won't hit in this league. And they finally, their assistant coach I've been with forever, finally says, Kevin, you got to take Alicea. He might be a starter for us. And you know what he has started for them? He's going to be an electric player for our fans to watch.
Oh, that's fun.
Alex Alicea. 57 for 57 in one season?
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Well, that must be great, too, because that just throws the other pitcher off kilter. Knowing as soon as the guy gets on first base,
right.
There was a 100% chance he was going to steal the base.
Right.
So that must be interesting to put him on there and disrupt the other pitcher.
Well, right under him is the kid. And this kid's out of Boston, Ivan Arias. Now, Arias is a Boston kid. Went to Vanderbilt last year. Didn't get a lot of playing time. Put himself in the portal. Went to Dayton. He's at Dayton right now. The head coach, Jason King, out of Franklin Pierce.
Yeah.
Jason calls me up, you got to take Arias. I said, I don't want Arias. He said, 5'9". I said, I already got a 5'7" midget. I don't want another 5'9" guy. And I can say that at my height.
Yeah.
And he said, no, you have to take. So we talked a long time. I ended up taking him. I think he's going to be another electric performer for our fans to watch. They're going to be up the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got, if you're saying up the middle, are they second shortstop or?
They play both. And if you look at the bottom there, I took the kid Tommy Tavares. He's out of Brooklyn. He's actually a Dominican kid. He's at Gardner Webb. He's really tearing it up. I think we've got some exciting players up the middle.
Who would you say, Kev, out of pitcher and position players, who's your sleeper? Who do you think you kind of just stole under the radar?
So if you look at this kid, Josh Cross, out of the University of Cincinnati, 6'1", 225, He's at Cincinnati. They just went into the Big 12 with Oklahoma and all those teams. He's really an outfielder, but I noticed they're starting him behind the plate as a catcher.
Really?
Last weekend he had 4 home runs in one weekend, and I love this kid. He's a switch hitter. I think he's a sophomore. I think I know there were a number. He was under the radar. And the coach that was there is a friend of mine, left Rutgers and went to Cincinnati, called me about this kid. And so, at that time I took a chance because he really didn't have a resume. But there's a kid I think is going to be fun to watch.
So once again, for somebody like that has to do with your connections over the years. You trust.
I'm telling you, relationships mean 2 things. Relationships mean so much, and number 2, the reputation of your franchise. And nobody's stronger than Keene. We have such a tremendous reputation for treating kids right, having great players.
Right. Well, as we said, they go back to school, they talk.
Yeah.
If they didn't have a good time,
right. There's a kid at University of Indiana, and we've had great success lately. We had the kid Matheson 2 years ago, who's going to be a first-round draft pick. Remember last year we had Devin Taylor, Rookie of the Year, in there. This year they want to send us a kid named Andrew Wiggins, 6'4", 215. He's not on the roster because he hasn't sent me his contract yet. But he turned down well into 7 million figures last year coming out of high school at the draft.
Confident.
Confident that he can do much better than that. So they're sending him here. Andrew Wiggins. I noticed I did a YouTube on him, and not only can he play, I noticed he did the national anthem before one game with a saxophone.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You're always looking for that kind of talent too, because we're not even talking about that. We're not even talking about everybody focuses on that they bring in all these great players. You're also giving so much opportunity for internships on so many different levels that we that people don't even realize, and that's really the magic of all this happening are those internships on some levels.
Our internship team is to die for. We have 10 interns now. When we started, we had 3. I got a call from our intern from 2 years ago, Rachel Valentine. She was our social media intern. Never had a social media intern for the first 15 years.
Yeah.
When she left us, she got a job with the Green Bay Packers, full-time.
Yeah.
Went to the Angels, Anaheim Angels, and just got a job a year ago with ESPN.
There you go. There you
She
go.
called me up and she said, I really need my resume. I need to broaden it. I need to manage some people. I'm willing to come in if you'll house me somewhere and work with your social media team. How's that? And she's special. She's out of Ithaca.
Yeah.
Yep, Arizona girl.
Yeah.
So we're excited about Rachel returning for the summer. So she's going to leave a little early. Here's a great story about it. She's with ESPN, but she's going to leave on the 20th of July. She's going to leave us early because she's going to go cover the Summer Olympics in Paris for NBC.
That's a story within itself. These are great stories.
These are the stories that are out there.
Yeah.
Buzz Sullivan from Hinsdale, 3 desks down from the commissioner of the MLB. Our analytics guy from 3 years ago is now sitting in MLB. Our interns are we're as proud of them as we are our players.
But that's the thing, that you said earlier that the check off, and I don't like what you meant by it because I know I just think it's too bad because he's missing experience. These guys are checking off because of the life experience, and it carries some level of weight along with the degree they're getting and all the other stuff they're doing. But this is important, and it gives them a real perspective of the nitty-gritty too. It's about what you said when we started. A lot of times at the end of the game, you may be president, but you're going to be picking up the trash.
Right.
If they can see, it's a great lesson to learn. If they can see, I remember a few years ago, we were short-staffed, so I worked in the kitchen at the nursing home, and I cleaned dishes all night long. That's all I did. But it was important because it was important. Other people say that when we're in it, everybody needs to step up, and you out there doing that. Those are life lessons they carry on too. They're willing to get their hands dirty because they've learned it.
Right. We talk about it with our interns when we come in. We have a meeting with them because it's hard. Our internship is tough. They're 7 days a week. They're going at it. And I always say, hey, I hope you're here and you've already identified your why.
Yeah.
You're going to have some nights and you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing this?
Right.
And a lot of interns will say, So thank you for pointing that out to me, because there were times I did have to go back to my why.
So how many interns do you have for this upcoming season?
10.
Are they
10.
all set? All positions ready to go?
Ready to go.
So
from analytics to ESPN to we got 2 broadcasters, 4 ops. 10.
So almost like we have your connections with coaches that help bring players in. Now you've got connections with interns that recommend other interns.
Right.
Did that happen this year? Did you get any recommendations for interns?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I will tell you, I don't recruit the interns. I may have an opinion, but our admin assistant, Sarah Culp, she recruits, interviews, selects, and then when they get here, turns them over to our game day ops person. Sarah does a great job. She's special.
So when do the interns arrive about the same time the players do, or does some of them get here a little
week ahead, May 27th, so we can be in that Memorial Day parade.
Right, and, that's important.
Oh, that's right too.
Yeah,
I'm always sitting right up there watching you guys. And...
So it's we feel like we provide the interns housing and room and board, and not many internships in this country do. I mean, most people don't know that. Many interns, like if you go to the Fisher Cats as an intern, you have to find and pay for your own housing.
Really?
Yeah. So we provide that, and it's meaningful to these. So as a result, we're able to recruit the creme de la creme of what I feel is students with talent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like between the broadcast and the interns, you got quite the connection with ESPN now.
Yeah. Stop that. See, there's a coach.
So your alarm going off? A coach is you can take it. That's okay.
No, I'm not doing
Just
that.
put it on the mic. Put it on the mic. We'll listen.
Oh, it's awful. Sorry,
all day long?
Sorry about that.
You get that all day long, coaches?
Yeah, it can happen.
So, all right. So if we look at the last few years, I mean, when's the season start?
June 5th, opening week. Monadnock Ford. Here's what we've done in the past. We've kind of worked our way into the season.
Yeah.
This year, Monadnock Ford says, no, we want to be your opening night game sponsor. And we have a sponsor for most every night. And we have great theme nights, too.
Yeah.
And we're going to do fireworks that night. We're going to do, you name it. We will make it a big night and start the season with a bang. And really, we got pushed to do it by Vadim.
Yeah. And my thing is for some of us, we don't. I'm to a point now where I sort of like standing along the fence and just watching the game.
Sure.
Or if I'm going to go in, I'm going to sit on the third base side.
Yeah.
And just sort of just sit there and just watch, because just for baseball purists, it is incredible to watch the high level skill that goes on here. So I just, you all know it. I mean, a lot of you that watch us know that you've gone to Swampback games. It hasn't changed. If anything, it's actually gotten better over the years with the music, with all that. I mean, I would love for you guys to get the guys down but I bet it costs an arm and leg to get them up here. But what's the team?
Oh, the Bananas, Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, Savannah Bananas. Yeah,
they've sold out 2024. They've sold it out.
Really?
Everywhere. They're barnstorming around the country.
But that stuff they do there is
Yeah.
just so entertaining. It's a baseball team. They actually choreograph music numbers in the middle of baseball, in the middle of a pitch.
Right.
All this stuff, and then all of a sudden it's dance, and he fires his heater, and the batter's like, "What just happened?" But is that? Can I just ask? You would know this. Are they watching? Are they playing teams like the Washington Generals to the Harlem Globetrotters, or are these real teams in a league?
They're playing other collegiate teams, but I think there's an understanding that the way we play the game and the way you normally play is different, just like the Globetrotters in Washington. I know that if they hit a foul ball into the stands and a fan catches it, it's an out.
An out, yeah.
So they do crazy stuff, and I wish we could do it, but we'll take it one at a time. And I always remind folks, as much as you rave about our baseball, we're 80% community. We really are. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're working all the time. We're doing a Juneteenth night for the first time ever.
Yeah.
This year, we're doing a Pride night.
Great.
Yeah, we're excited as heck about that. In fact, I'm going to a meeting shortly.
Say hi to Adam if he's there.
With Adam.
Yeah.
We're doing Pink at the Park, honoring those cancer survivors.
And what about and you have like a nonprofit night?
Yeah.
And I mean, you really are community based.
Doing,
but you still do the read.
Reading with Ribby. That's one of our our second
Hardest interview I've ever done is Ribby.
But 2 years ago we had 4,000 students show up with their moms. Too many. So we split it into 2 nights, and we had 31 schools participate this year in Reading with Ribby.
And your first responder night has gone to first responder / military night now.
Yes.
And that's a huge
night.
Huge draw.
First responder night.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is amazing how the fire department and the police turn out for that night. I wasn't sure they would, but they come out.
Maybe we can find a stray F-16 to fly over,
Yeah,
that no. All right, and so I mean, so you're feeling that you're like you do every year. You're feeling confident now. Who are the coaches?
Same two head coach. Head coach is Sean McKenna.
Yeah.
His 3rd year with us. He was with us in 2004. He's an assistant this year at Keene State.
Okay.
Helping Justin Blood.
Okay.
And Casey O'Brien.
Justin Blood, local. Monadnock?
Yep, Monadnock kid.
Okay.
Great coach.
Yeah.
Built a powerhouse at Hartford, and then they went D3.
Yeah.
And his in-laws own Douglas.
Okay.
Douglas.
Douglas Toys. Yeah.
And he's married to their daughter.
Yeah.
So they decided they want to come back to Keene. And so what a get for Keene State.
If I remember, Clark.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, you're good.
Yeah.
Christine's her mom.
That must be tough, baseball at Keene State. Because they're in Florida right now. And just when you think the fields are going to be okay,
Right.
we get hit with a snowstorm.
Right.
So
I tell you, that was a great get, getting Justin Blood. He will turn that program around. Great coach.
Kevin, I know a lot of times there'll be one local player you'll bring on the Swamp Bats.
Yeah.
That might not normally have made it, but was close. You find anybody this year kind of close?
We thought we had one in Peter Haas.
Right? Yeah, I remember that.
Kid, and he was with us last year. He had Tommy John.
Right.
Peter got offered a slot with the Cape. You know what? And he wanted to go to the Cape. And so you got to do what you want.
Okay.
So we won't have Peter this year. Now, I will tell you, next year, I feel like we've got a couple of Keene kids. Because we want Keene kids, Monadnock region kids, who can compete.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But you look at a kid like Ben Dean out of Monadnock. He's going to Dayton. I can't imagine, if things go well, that he won't be with us. Yeah. The kid Olivo for Monadnock, he's down there. Keene High School's got a couple of players this year. Yeah. And depending on where they go, it's hard to come in here as a freshman and compete.
Oh yeah.
I try not to recruit freshmen anywhere. Say nothing about local. And we want the local player to have a good experience.
And is there a transition? I know the kids now, they played all their life with aluminum bats. Back in our day, it was all wooden bat all the way through.
Right.
Is there a transition, a difficult transition to hit?
For sure.
Do you see?
Oh, definitely. It's a whole other game. It's one of the reasons they're here. All these kids, I always tell folks, every kid is here for the same reason. The same reason. They want to play pro ball. And they need to play with the wood in their hands. Scouts need to be able to evaluate them with the wood like they would have in pros. Not aluminum like they have in the college.
Do you get notified if scouts are in the coming to the field?
Generally, they're so easy to spot. They come in with the gun, the radar gun, the right hat, and so I'll go up and because we're obligated to make sure they have all.
And they're sitting behind home plate.
Yeah, they're sitting behind home plate with the stats they need. So I'll usually introduce myself. Hey, anything you need, let me know.
And you probably know most of them now by. Or are they changing all the time?
Those scouts, that's a tough gig.
Yeah.
I did it when I got out of college. Tough gig. I mean, they're all young, just maybe out of college or whatever, but looking to get their start.
For them, is it almost like an internship?
It really is.
First-year scout?
Yeah. Think about it. They're at a high school field or somewhere every night.
Yeah.
That's tough duty.
Yeah.
It really is.
And you feel like this is a bounce-back year?
Oh, yeah. Last year was an aberration. When do we not make the playoffs?
Yeah.
I mean, we compete for titles.
Yeah.
But hey, last year I could give you a lot of excuses, but I'm not going to. I think this is a big time bounce back year.
Yeah.
Gonna have fun.
And is there still a lot of, I mean, you touched on it, but it's still a lot of other special events that people should be aware of. At 4th of July, do you do something?
Independence Eve on July 3rd is always a huge one.
Yeah.
So I just think folks stay in touch. The Chamber does a big night. You know, Luca does a great night. We may have Chaos and Kindness at that this year. Like I said, the Reading with Ribby nights. Check our sponsors. The banks, Savings Bank of Walpole, M&T, on and on it goes.
But as you just mentioned, I think the big change this year is opening night's going to be a big bang instead of coming in quietly.
Right.
Usually you come in that first Wednesday night and you kind of trickle in. And this year, I know Vadim, the owner of Monadnock Ford, decided he wanted to be all in and sponsor this. So
don't forget, last year was I call it the Summer from Hell. We had 6 rainouts.
Oh yeah.
Normally we have 1.
Yeah, right.
And we had 6. So
and they're not made up unless it affects playoffs.
We have to play the game, so they generally get played as a doubleheader.
Okay.
And nobody wants to.
No.
Doubleheaders. I don't want them.
No.
Players don't want them.
They're 2 7-inning games back to back, right?
Exactly. So we're looking for a
good weather season.
Good weather
season. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah. Right.
Well, check out Alumni Field. Maybe we can put a dome over the top of it. Might have a couple extra bucks there.
So if you're
now you're just
if you're a fan out there, please know we're looking for host families.
Okay.
Go to swampbatch.com, and if you're a business that wants further branding, call us. We'll find a way to help you with our fan base.
Well, and you mentioned that ESPN is covering the whole season.
Right.
I mean, what a great what a great perk for a sponsor.
Yeah, and I can never be a real sponsor, and that's MBG, Monadnock Broadcasting Group. I mean, they do 44 games.
Yeah.
That's pretty special what they give the community.
Looking forward to it. I drive by Alumni Field, and I was out there, drove by last week to the baseball field, nice green. I'm like ready to go, and drove by it last night. I'm like, gotta melt a little snow here now. It'll melt fast.
I mean, we've got about a minute. Is there any upgrades this year that's happening out there that people will notice?
I think when you get to the park, one of the things we're looking at is adding, and believe it or not, Ted's driving this thought, a velo next to the scoreboard. So after every pitch, you can look and see, 89, 91. Mm-hmm. We're trying to do that. It comes with a heavy price tag.
Yeah.
But we think we can get that done. We're always trying to put something in there.
Yeah.
We're talking about, yeah.
Because I mean, and now we got 25 seconds, so I'll be really quick. Worcester to me is a really cool example of a mid-sized city. I mean, in the scheme of things and how they do things. But we're going to say thank you very much, Kevin Watterson, President of the Keene Swamp Bats. It's Swamp Bat time. Make sure
we'll definitely have you back before the season starts. We'll pump this up.
Yeah. So, but thank you. We'll see you next week here on Spotlight Keene.